Welcome. In today's tutorial, I will discuss one important thing, that is how to send data to server from HTML or JSP. Actually, there are many ways to send data from the client end to the server end, but I just want to add them in a single place so that we know the basic concept well, so that we can apply many frameworks or decide which framework we will apply where. So the first way we can send from HTML front end to the server by HTML form submit. As you know that there is one input HTML input element which type as submit. So if you have this kind of input in one form, so whenever you click on that submit button, the page directly submitted to the server, and where it will be submitted, that is taken from the form action class. So if whatever action class you have written, so in that URL the form will be submitted. So this is a basic thing. Next is, on click of a button, if I want to submit the form, so suppose there is one form and there is one button. So on click I am calling one JavaScript, and that script is written inside the script tag, that function, and here actually I am defining the action, the form's action, means the server component which will be handling after submitting this request. And then if you click on that document.form 0.submit, so on click of that button it is submitting to a particular server component. And what is the inner logic between this HTML form submit to the HTML button and then JavaScript wise submitting that form, is that HTML form submit creates the HTTP request object and sends to the server for processing, and the whole page refreshes with the new HTML code returned from the server. The logic is that the whole page actually is going to refresh. So whenever you are submitting that form, the whole page is getting refreshed. Now if you want to send data to the server without refreshing the whole page, means the page will be where it is in the same position, I will call the server component, will get the data, and I will just load the data into some element of the browser. So how I will do that, means without submitting that form. So to do that, if you want to send data to the server manually without using HTML form submit, then you need to use Ajax technology. And Ajax request objects can be created programmatically. You will create the XML HTTP request object, and that Ajax request can be sent to the server without refreshing the whole page. And also the Ajax response can be processed at the HTML client end, and data can be retrieved so that you can take on those data and you can display, or you can do whatever processing or coding you want to do on top of it. Ajax response text will be a simple text where any text can be sent. This can be JSON, this can be normal XML, or this can be a manual string. In some format if you want to put, you can put, and you are free to transform it. Now the question comes, how I will be calling Ajax. You can call Ajax by creating one object of XML HTTP request. So in JavaScript, you just create one XML HTTP request object, and then I will just display this on ready state change or explain it after this. So first is the URL, means the server component what will be called, that is actually written here, and I have converted the input elements to Ajax call. Before that actually I have converted to JSON string, and that I have passed by a get parameter JSON string, and I put here. So this is the URL what is going to call, and then I will open that URL, and the method will be get. The URL will be hit that server component, and true means it will be asynchronous call, or for false it will be a synchronous call. So whenever this call will be happening, means the XML HTTP request will be fired from the browser to the server. How I will track? This will be a stepped approach, and there will be one parameter inside this XML HTTP that is called ready state, that is going to change. So whenever that ready state changes, one controller callback function will be called, and that actually we are injecting here, that XML HTTP dot on ready state change. So whenever there is any ready state change, this function will be called by the Ajax. So this function here I am checking when the ready state is 4. 4 means it is complete, and the status is 200, means XML HTTP status is 200, means the return code or response code sent by the HTTP request, if it is 200, that means the process has ended successfully, and then you can display the response text. This is the returning string from the server. Now if it is in some JSON format, you can parse it, and after parsing you will get the JavaScript object, and from the JavaScript object you can take the attribute you want to take, and you can display wherever you want it to display. Now this ready state, the ready state has 5 values. So one is 0. 0 means it is uninitialized, that means open has not been called. When open is executed, then the ready state is 1. So the state is loading. When it is 2, the ready state, it is loaded, means send has been executed. And when it is 3, that means it is interactive, the server has returned a chunk of data. And when the ready state reaches value 4, that means the state is complete and request is complete, and server finished sending the data. So these 5 steps all Ajax request will go through, and whenever from one ready state to another ready state change happens, that means one container callback will be called, and that container callback means the callback handler on ready state change, and this function is called for every ready state that HTTP request object undergoes. Now the server returns some response codes, and by that response code we can identify what is the status of the server processing. If it is something starts with 1 and then any two consecutive number 1xx, that means if it is greater than equals to 100 and less than 200, informational its meaning, it means the request has been received and the process is continuing. When request object get response code 2xx is means success. It means the action was successfully received, understood and accepted. When the response code is 3xx, it means redirection. It means further actions must be taken in order to complete the request. When it gets response code 4xx, that means client error. It means the request contains incorrect syntax or cannot be fulfilled. When it is 5xx, that means server error. It means the server failed to fulfill an apparently valid request. Now, jQuery way of calling Ajax, that actually I have described here. And when you are using jQuery, you don't have to do anything, but you can manipulate everything by some jQuery syntax. You don't have to do anything, you just have to know the URL what will be hit by that Ajax call, and then you just write dot Ajax and then the URL attribute here, write the URL what will be hit means the variable name. I have stored here that Ajax object and I am storing here, and then on success one function will be called. So this is the callback after success, and here you can write your own piece of code like the result. This variable contains the response text what is returned from the server, and you just parse it and you will get the object, and that object has all the attributes. So you can retrieve the saved id and you can assign to the saved id that particular text box. So this is the jQuery way of Ajax call. So I am going to show you, I have written a small program where I have done this simple steps. So this is the page JSP, and on click of that button UI2JS object, that function is getting called, and here I am taking all the values of the form elements and then I am converting to JSON, and then I am creating XML HTTP request, and the URL I am mentioning where it will be hit, and then get method, and with the URL asynchronous true I am opening it, and then sending that request. And also I have mentioned what is the container callback for ready state change. On ready state change this function will be called, and whenever the ready state reaches from 0 1 2 3 4, if it reaches 4 that means this is complete, and the status after this whole processing, if the server status returned as 200, that means XML HTTP dot status is 200, it is successful. If it is successful, then only I am displaying the response text. In my case it is returned in JSON string, so this text I can parse and then I can display into the place where I want to display saved id here. The same thing I have converted into jQuery also. So if you want to see it how simplified it has become, so on click of this id, actually I have mentioned the click function. So in the click function I have defined the function what will be called on click, and then I am creating a new student object, and then by jQuery selectors I am taking all the elements value from that form, means including the roll number, first name, last name, department, everything I am retrieving from the form element and I am assigning to the objects attribute, and then I am stringifying json.stringify, that means it will make the object into JSON string, and then I am passing into the JSON string variable. So this URL, and now the small syntax, I don't have to write Ajax old syntax, that big syntax I don't have to write. Here I am mentioning the $.ajax and the URL what will be getting hit, and if it is success, then what is the callback method, and inside the result I will be getting that response text. So that will be in JSON format in my case. So I'll just parse it and I'll get my object, and then by jQuery selector I'll pick up the saved ID and then I can assign. So I can test it. This is the normal way. You can test it. See the JSON string I received and it is displaying. So this is normal way. Now in jQuery way, my name is student underscore jQuery. So if I hit like this, then it should come. Yes, the page has come. You just test by any value you can enter here and click on generate, it is coming. So in the jQuery also it is working, the Ajax. So I have explained how the different ways the server component can be called from HTML or JSP. So first is form submit by submit type, and then form submit by input type button from JavaScript submitting, and number 3 is by Ajax call, sending the value to the server, receiving the value, and then taking the required data from that response and processing in the browser. And another way, the modified version of the Ajax through jQuery. So that is also the same Ajax but with a framework jQuery, so to make the process simpler. So these 4 ways I have described. So if you have any questions, you can let me know.